Thing that motivates us. It's all about contributing to our well-being, to our wellness in life. And my opinion is that if we live a life with purpose, we're already halfway there.
Well, hello everyone and welcome to Wednesdays with Wallis. I'm your host, Wallis Patterson. And if you've been listening in lately, we've been talking about a whole bunch of things, but one of the things we've been talking about is this whole idea of side hustling, creating dollars for yourself, making more money in your life, living fabulously, living with freedom and choice and, all those, pardon me, wonderful, wonderful things you can have in your life if you choose. So choice is a big thing. We might be mentioning that a number of times today. And last week, I was so excited. Oh, I was so excited. My little dog down there. I was so excited last week. Now, why was I so excited? Well, you wonderful, wonderful, my heart sings and loves you. I had, for the first time since I have been, and I don't want to tell you how many times, I've been posting Wednesdays with Wallis, I got loads of comments and I had quite an increase, quite a few increase in our subscribers. So, if you are tuning in and listening, subscribe to Wednesdays with Wallis, will you? We're really working on our numbers, getting them up, because, it's this is a business. And if I'm talking to people about starting a business, then I want to bring you up to speed and give you some inroads and talk to you about, different things that happen for me in my business, apart from, the online bold, not old membership area that we're building at the moment with lots of affiliates and changing bold, not old to a resource area, which I'm very excited about, I have to tell you, she says, as she tries to get a bit more comfortable in her chair. That's a bit to do with the knee thing. I mentioned recently I had, pardon me, a knee replacement, and it went well. I was back at the specialist yesterday and she's very thrilled with her work and how well I'm doing with her work. And I'm looking forward to some of the things that she pointed out and said that'll be occurring as time goes on. Patience, that's what it needs, patience. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today in relation to the topic being money needs. You ready? Come on, kiddies, listen up. Really important. Money needs containers in your life. What does that mean? Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about mine this morning. I was thinking about this. I got up thinking about and being more sort of on it. I'm on the third quarter of life. And, I'm not getting off and I'm not retiring to be a spectator. I'm in there, boots and all, pardon the pun, but I'm on the third, I'm in the third quarter, and in the not too distant future, we'll be in the fourth quarter. And, magic happens. Magic happens when you watch a footy match, as I was doing recently, watching my favourite team here in Australia, who didn't win the grand final. But boy, oh boy, magic happened in the fourth quarter. And I thought that, we were going to win. But the opposing team was just that much better and a few things on their side. But it reminded me of life. If you're not in the game, well, then you can't play. You've got to be in the game to play. Okay, so money needs containers in your life. What does that mean? Well, it's another way of saying you've got to have some reasons for the money. I hear people say to me, And I don't subscribe to this. I'm not a believer in what I'm about to say. I'm just reiterating what others say. But sometimes people say to me, pardon me, when I have a lot of money, I'll know what I want to do with it. And I listen and I go, yep, okay. Don't at that time say, well, what? Because I've done that a few times, and most times I get, well, I don't really know, but when I've got a lot of money, I'll know. You won't. And I can promise you, I promise you won't have a lot of money, because that's not how it all works. Now, we won't go into a whole bunch of things around how it works and why it works and in what way the universal laws work, because that's a discussion for another time and a whole bunch of podcasts on their own. And who knows, over there on the side, I might get into, those sorts of things, or start up another podcast on manifesting. But you have to manifest in your life what you want. And there are rules around that. It doesn't mean that if you work really hard that you'll get what you want, because we see a lot of people do that. I mean, over the years, I've seen people. My father worked extraordinarily hard, and we made some money and we were comfortable. But, we didn't have an amazing lifestyle. We were comfortable. Because my father worked hard, and everybody who works hard can get to a certain level or a certain point of things. They can have particular things. It's like you hit a brick wall, so to speak. You get to a point where, the manifesting stops, because your mindset is that you're going to manifest it through hard work. Well, that's not true. A lot of people work hard and don't get much out of it. So that's not the deal. That's not how it works. There are rules to manifesting, and this is one of them that I'm telling you today. It's one rule of manifesting. That is, you need to have containers in your life. Money needs you first. It's not going to come along and go, okay, I'm here now, what do you want to do with me? It doesn't work like that. You have to have the containers. You have to have the things that you want to put that money into, okay? So I'm going to see how mine goes, because I got up this morning thinking about what would I really like? What would I really... One of the things I really love is a bigger house. A bigger house. I want a bigger house. Why do I want a bigger house? Because I want some bigger rooms. And one of the reasons for those bigger rooms, well, here's the thing, kiddies, I'm going to tell you mine, and you can keep track of it. And let's see where it goes in the not too distant future. Because manifesting doesn't have a time limit on it. You can't go, oh, well, I'll give it time. It might take 2 or 3 years, or it might take a year, might take 6 months. Pardon me, might be just around the corner. It is in your escrow, meaning it is there in your future. How far in your future? If you're thinking about it, it's in your future already. So don't want to complicate this, but I just want you to know that if you're thinking about it, it's in your what we call escrow, meaning it's already in your life, in your future. Now, how far in your future? Don't have a clue. I don't know. I don't know what you're doing, and I don't know how you're doing it, but I know that if you want to fast forward that and bring that into more current time to enjoy it now, don't have to wait. This is not, you don't have to punish yourself and say, well, I have to wait for this. So now it's a now time. So right now you can bring this into your future in one of those ways. We'll talk about this over the next few weeks because I think it's fascinating and wonderful, and it's certainly changed my life in the ways that I've changed it already. But this morning I decided to up the ante. I decided to lift it to another level. I want the bigger house, and I want it because I want a 3 or 4 car garage. I currently have 2 car garage. It's not big enough. I want a 3 or 4 car garage because I'd like to add another couple of cars. I'm mad on cars. I love cars. And it was inspired yesterday. I went to the doctor's, called back past a nice little outdoor hotel that I used to go to at one time and hadn't been for a long time. It was a bit cool. But anyway, when I got out of the car and turned around and walked across the road, sitting right outside the pub was a beautiful black. I don't want a black one. I don't want black. I want grey or something like that. Dark blue maybe. Grey. I like grey. You know, darkish grey or something. Maybe with red upholstery. That'd be cool. But sitting outside and it was a nice day, but sitting outside the pub was a Bentley convertible. Oh, it was beautiful. So I thought, oh, that's one of the cars on the list. So I thought, well, if I'm going to have those sorts of things, I need a bigger house. I need more garage space. And I decided I have a fairly small room that I work out of. As you can see, there's an outdoor area from it, but it's a fairly small room. That's lovely. It's lovely. It's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous small room. I love every minute of it, and I've enjoyed every bit of the space. But I want a bigger room, and I want a bigger office. I want a bigger room so I can have an office and a studio, so I can set it up better with better lighting and get this whole lighting thing, you know, done better, and sound. And I'd like it to be a studio. And I'm telling you mine because I want you to follow this. Sticking my neck out here and going, I've decided to up the ante on my manifesting and create this money needs a container. And the reason I'm also telling you this is because of more recent times, I contained my containers. So what I'm doing and what's incoming is fantastic for that container that I've or those containers that I've created. But I realised to have the bigger amount of money, the larger amount of money, I needed to have different containers. And so I'm sharing that with you because I think that's really, really important. So if right now you're going, I'm okay, I'm all right, I've got enough, I'm earning enough, I'm comfortable, I'm happy, I don't want to rock the boat on that. I'm not saying you shouldn't. But if there's any inkling that you would like to have additional income or more income, you have to create different containers to put that money in to have that money come to you. Do you understand that? So it's really, really important to have containers in your life. Now, if you're just starting out and you know, you haven't really thought about this, well, then I want you to think about it. I want you to think about what are the containers right now? You know, what are you feeding this this manifestation? What are you feeding this field around you? Because we all have it. You can go away, you can sit on the loo, you can deny you can deny this all you want. You can spend the rest of your life denying. What a waste of bloody time. But anyway, if that's what you want, knock yourself out, go spend the rest of your days telling yourself it's all a load of or it's all a crock off. And that's okay. My experience in life And my learnings and my understandings have taught me that it's not, because I'm a skeptical person by nature. And there was a time when I thought, I'll tell you a little story. Many, many years ago, when Neil Donald Walsh, and I didn't even know who Neil Donald Walsh was in those days, that would have been 25 years ago, I suppose. I didn't know who the hell he was. Who's Neil Donald bloody Walsh? And if you don't know who Neil Donald Walsh is, he is the author of Conversations with God. So along came the book, and I was brought up in a very with my grandmother for the first few years. Bit different when we went home to live with our mother and father, but in the early years we lived with our grandmother, and my grandmother was very religious, and we were brought up 3 times on Sunday going to church and being dragged to prayer meetings and all the rest of the stuff that went on that was around that concept and those understandings and those beliefs that my grandmother had. And she was certainly trying to get into our heads. And so I was brought up with certain beliefs and certain things. I don't believe them now, but I did then. But anyway, I didn't know who Neil Donald Walsh was. So I bought the book. I was curious. I was very curious. And I bought the book because I'd been on a quest for a lot of years of some new and different understandings, and that was a bit of rock the boat. In fact, it was a big rock the boat because I was brought up. It was a bit of a headbang. My head was in the space that my grandmother wanted it to be. So to challenge that was a big thing, and you might be going through that in your life in one way or another with something. So anyway, I challenged that thinking, and I was learning and understanding and buying books and doing things. And I'll tell you, in the early days, boy, did I come up against some brick walls. It was a real stretch. Some of that stuff I just couldn't get through my head. It was, gobbledygook, and it was like a foreign bloody language. I didn't know what the hell they were banging on about. But anyway, I got there on it, and I bought this book from Neil Donald Walsh, that he'd written, called Conversations with God. I got into the book and started reading it, and I thought, oh, that's rubbish. That's all a con. That's just a load of rubbish. Who would believe any of that stuff? That's just simply not true. God's out there sitting on a cloud. Anyway, we won't get into all that, but my beliefs were totally different than that book. So I thought, oh God, this is a load of waffle, and it really challenged me. It upset me actually to read it, because it was very challenging. I thought, and it was beyond my belief that any of us as individuals could speak with God and talk to God in that way, and that we could put forward our views, we could put forward our thinking, we could put forward those sorts of things. So that was all a really, really big challenge to me. But as time went on, I read more, did more, and I got to understand all that. And I came into, a more enlightened, we'll call it, space of understanding, which was wonderful. It got me out of all that being stuck in a space where none of that was doing me any good. So I realised that in us all, over the years, that we live in an energy. We live in an energy field. If it's a stretch for you, don't worry about it right now. You've heard it, and there's a reason that you've heard it, and you'll just go on from there and maybe search that out, or something else will come your way, as it does. When things come my way, I just go, well, I sort of feel like I'm a bit of a, spirit, recalcitrant being, so I tend to challenge things. And I always say, well, I'm the way that I am. So send me 2 or 3, things on it, and I'll have a listen. That's how I work. And when I first started doing that, I thought, oh, that's a bit much, isn't it, kid? But that's what I do, and that's the way I do things. So I want you to know that doesn't matter right now whether some of this stuff sticks with you or doesn't, or whether you really understand it. But our thinking, our current thinking, whatever we're thinking today, whether it's I can have whatever it is I want or I can't, is true. Whichever one of those you're thinking, it's true. Now, when I heard that, I thought it was a bit trite and, oh, God, I thought it was, I thought it was trite. I'd heard it at different times. I thought, oh, yeah. That's a bit like, it can be anything you want. Well, the fact is, yes, it can. When I learned some more things, I understood that if I had small goals and small dreams, and that's what I aimed at, that's what I got. So that's true. That's exactly what would come about. If I had bigger goals, bigger dreams, and I was willing to face my fear and apprehension and God, what if it doesn't happen, or all the rest of the stuff that goes on in our head, well, then that's what would come true. So I decided, me personally, to push the envelope and go down that track, go for the bigger things. Which is why this morning I got up, pardon me, thinking about what am I feeding the field? What am I feeding the energy field? What am I feeding what's bigger than me? What am I feeding the rules? The things that maybe I don't quite understand, but I know they exist. What am I feeding that? And when I say what am I feeding that, I mean, what are we feeding it in our thinking and in the things that we say and do? And I then, ding, 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 I'm a slow learner, kids. You have got to believe. Oh, bloody hell. It takes me a while sometimes to click the dots, and I think I'm a bit of a slow learner. But bloody hell, I'm telling you, when I get it, I get it. It comes, the chickens come home to roost big time. So this morning I got this whole thing, just came rushing at me big time. And then I knew that it was time. When that happens to me, I get some signposts and things happening in my life. When that happens to me, I knew then it was a timing thing, that I'd had a feeling for quite some time that things were changing and there were lots of things going on. And that's happening right now. I feel it in my energy field. I feel it in everything that's going on around me. So I realized this morning, what am I feeling? What am I putting into this field of energy around me? Am I putting in what I really want? Or am I putting into it because I don't want to think about this because it's too scary and I'm worried I mightn't get it? And you might be doing this, and a lot of us do it. Are you thinking, well, I don't want to go there on that. That's, I mightn't get it, and if I don't get it, I'll be disappointed. Don't think all that nonsense. That's just nonsense. That's blah, 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 in your head. Forget that. The important thing is, what are you putting into the field? What are you feeding it? So pull yourself up and go, well, what is it that I really want? Because feed that into the field. So I did that this morning. The 3 or 4 car garage, the bigger house, the room that I could have an office in, and that's big. That's big. It's it's a bit above right now my pay rate, we'll call it. So I'm, stretching my I'm stretching into it, I'll call it. I'm looking to feed the field with what I want, not what I'll settle for. So I'm going to leave the podcast today on that. I want you to think about money needs containers in your life. What are the containers that you're going to put this money into? Holiday, new home, car of your choice. You know, it doesn't even have to be that. It might be something entirely different. But what containers is this amount of money that you would like? Where is that going? What containers are you putting it into? Because until you figure that out, this ain't going to happen. I'll tell you. I promise you. God, I'm making promises. I promise you it won't happen because it can't. It's against all of the laws of the universe. So get the containers going and sort it out, write it up on a board, write it down on a bit of paper, draw some little containers and put in it the amounts that you need for it. And just focus on that. And don't let anybody take you away from it. Don't allow yourself to take yourself away from it because, you know, we're more damaging than most people around us because we get into the crap. Because all of this informs our decisions and it informs all the stuff that we do. So stick to the highlighted path. Just stay on the path of what I'm talking about today. And let's talk about this maybe next week some more. What happens with me is for Wednesdays with Wallis, I get up, and if I get up with something that's needling away at me or something that's pressuring me, I know that it's my intuition and there's a communication coming through because I actually do channel. There's a communication coming through saying, talk about this today. And often I go, oh, really? Oh, I thought I was thinking, no, talk about this. So today I had something entirely different I was going to be talking about, but I got up with this, and this is what I'm talking about. So live a fabulous life, be fabulous, work out the containers that you're going to put your money into because it needs it. It's not coming otherwise. Be fabulous until next week, and we'll talk some more. Who knows what it'll be, get darlings, but it'll be something for someone, and somebody needs it. Click on the link below. Please subscribe to Wednesdays with Wallis. Sound like I'm begging. Please, please. And keep an eye on boldnotold.com.au because that by the end of the month is going to be fully functional and ready for, well, we're going to be doing big promotes on it anyway, ready for people to join, and we'll be telling you how much that'll be soon, and it's as cheap as chips. And because I just really want you to have it, and but I want to earn a little bit off it, but I want you to have it. So I've made it cheap as chips. And love. See you next time on Wednesdays with me, Wallis Patterson. Bye for now.